Welcome, welcome. It is Monday. It is Monday afternoon, 4 p.m. here in Arizona. I think it's 7 p.m. on the East Coast or something like that. Welcome to Live Q&A. We do this every Monday. We answer as many questions as we can about drones or whatever you want to talk about, quite frankly. Put your comments down right there. Put your question down right there in the live chat and we'll take care of it. And yeah, it's been already a busy day. Pretty busy, crazy. I want to say hi to a few people that are online. Thorough Inspired here every week. We have Jason Johnston, we have Bill Walton, we have Curtis Warren, Sergio, we have Skypod Images. I'm going to flip this over so it's easier to read. We have, let me see, who else? Kavi Patel, Afterres Media, Will County Drone, Northern Drone Guy, always here as well. We have Waypoint New England, Sprints Gaming Edits. We have Jillian, our Jillian from the community. We have Glenn Bates. We have, who else? Chris is in here, Drone Lake Guy with the cookie, as always. We have the legendary Sean, Dean Schaefer. A lot of you already in the comments. We did a really cool interview today. I don't know that I can say who yet because it's going to go live on Thursday, and we have well, actually I can say who. It was Bring Drone. We did an interview with the Pixel Drone Show with Haya. They're coming up with something on Thursday. I can't talk about what it is because we're under embargo, but we'll have a full explanation of what they're coming up with. But the one thing is we had a great discussion, on the Chinese drone ban. And as you may know, Brink is an American manufacturer. So I wanted to ask questions about what their stance was on the Chinese drone ban. And I think we had a good back and forth. I think you'll want to listen to that. I know a lot of you in the comments and on the YouTube channel in general want to discuss the Chinese drone thing because it's important. So I asked some of the questions that you guys asked that I have in my mind, and we got some answers. I don't think it's a clear-cut thing, quite frankly. I think the Chinese drone ban is one of those things that is multifaceted. There's not a single correct answer to how to fix it, to how to go forward with it, and it was good to hear their perspective as well. So I'm going to plug in my iPad here so we don't lose juice. Oh, and then Ben, I told you to put it here, but the plug is here. So you weren't wrong. Well, it was there, and then I flipped it over. So anyways, what else? What else has been going on? There's been the photo contest. This thing here. So this is the trophy. If you haven't been following, we have a photo contest. It's too late to submit your submission for this month, but we will have a new submission in June, which is coming along. And then the voting started today. So if you want to vote, head over to the community. Jillian made a post in the community about how to vote. It's a different system for voting. So once you get in there, what's going to happen is you're going to be putting your email address, and then you're going to be, thank you, Ben. You're going to be prompted with 2 photos at a time. It's going to say, which one of these 2 do you prefer? You're going to pick one, and then you're going to move on to the next one. Now, you're not selecting the winner. When you pick one of those 2 photos, all you're saying is, I like this photo better than I like this photo, and then you move on to the next one. What it does is, once we have a lot of people that vote for these photos, over time it's building a ranking of these photos. The one thing that I love about it is just not you going to the page, finding your photo, and then saying, I like. That's a popularity contest, and I think that's the wrong way to do grading of anything, to do a ranking. And this is actually a great way to do it because you may or may not be shown your photo. So you have to just select which one of those 2 you prefer, and then basically it's going to eventually put everything together and come up with a winner. So I voted. I went through amazing photos, by the way, just really cool. I was blown away by the quality of the photos in here. So I think I'm going to shut up and I'm going to start talking more. I'm going to shut up talking about this, and I'm going to answer questions because there's a lot of them in the chat already. So yeah, let's get to that. Jason says, can I map with my EXO X-Ranger 7 drone, and was wondering if you knew where the serial number was so I can add that extra part to my FAA registration. I'm not 100% familiar with the EXO as far as where the registration number or the serial number is, but in most drones it's in the settings. You go in and then you find the about section, and then it should be in there. As far as can you map with the drone, you can pretty much map with any drone. All that matters is that you have a way to create that kind of pattern in order to do overlap on both sides of the image and put everything together. As a matter of fact, we have a really cool video coming up on that, probably when, next week you would say, Ben?
By next week.
Yeah, by next week. So stay posted. If you want to do some cool mapping stuff, we have a really cool video that's coming up. It's a tutorial, yeah, on how to actually do that with pretty much any drone. So it's exciting, even DJI drones. Next, Bill Walton says, can you have more than one remote ID in your recreational inventory? Yes, you can. I don't. If you wanted to have the convenience of keeping one on the drone and having one that you can move to any drone, you absolutely can. Yeah. How can you tell if my EXO has a transponder on it? That would be the remote ID, I'm guessing, is what you're asking. You can go to the FAA DOC, the Declaration of Compliance. I'm going to put the link right here so you can go to it. Jason is out today. Tom is actually in the back answering all the comments, but I'll put the link in here so you can go look. But that link is essentially going to allow you to check if your drone has remote ID baked in, and if it doesn't, then you're going to need to use a remote ID module. Glenn says, what is the weight of the Mini 4 with a prop guard added? Does it fall in the allowable limit to fly over people with the permit? So Glenn, I think maybe you're talking about what I talked about in Friday news update, which is the FAA is changing the waiver program a little bit in order to allow people to fly over people. To fly over people. And that's a great thing. I've seen mixed comments on some Facebook groups, which some people were saying this is making it harder to fly over people. I think they missed the point of the whole thing, which is this is actually making it more accessible for people to fly over people. So let me backtrack, because maybe not everybody has seen this, and then Glenn, I'll answer your question. The FAA has said that 97% of operation over people waivers are being denied at the moment. So there's two ways you can fly over people. You can acquire a categorized drone, category 1, 2, 3, or 4. There's no category 2 or 4. There's one category 3 drone, and it's not a drone that most people would use. It's a fixed wing aircraft, which is a cool aircraft, just not for the majority of people. And there's a few category 1 drone that don't need to be approved by the FAA. They're self-approved, but you need to have prop guards, and the drone needs to be under 250 grams with the prop guards. So that makes it difficult to find a drone that fits that category. So as a result, if you cannot use a categorized drone, you have to go and use a waiver. You have to request a waiver from the FAA, 97% of which get denied because the requirements to get one are pretty difficult. And I don't know if Vic is in the chat. So Vic has one of those, and it took a while to get the approval. So there's been discussion with the FAA, and the FAA decided that as long as you could have remote ID on the drone, and you can have prop guards, and you can have a visual observer, and you can have a strobe light on top of the drone to make it more visible to other aircraft in the area, then, and if your drone is under 400 grams, 399 grams to be precise, 0.88 pounds, because the FAA uses pounds, in that scenario, then they would give you more than likely very quickly approval to fly over people if you submit the waiver. So you still need to have a waiver, but that 97% rejection rate is going to go down to hopefully only a few percent if you follow the steps. Now, it's going to take some work. I'm not saying that it's just going to be take 5 minutes to submit the application, but it's going to be a lot easier, and the success rate should be a lot higher as long as you meet those requirements. And if your drone is over 0.88 pounds all the way to 3.5 pounds, so 1.58 something kilograms, then you would need to do everything I just mentioned plus a parachute that's ASTM approved on top of it. So to go back to Glenn's question, Glenn says the Mini 4 Pro. The Mini 4 Pro with prop guards falls under the 400 gram, the 399 0.88 pound category, which means that you would need to have remote ID, you would need to have prop guards on top of it, a light on top of it, and then and a visual observer, and to submit a waiver, and then you'd be good to go. So today we saw the first waiver approved. I don't know if there's been more than one, but I did get a message this morning that at least one of them was approved under these new guidelines. And hopefully we're going to see more. I know Vic has one in the system. We have one in the system that hopefully gets approved in the next couple of days using all of this. So it's good news. It's not making it harder. It's actually creating a path outside of the regulatory path of needing to have a categorized drone, which is not happening. Let's face it, the FAA thought that the industry was going to jump on this and create categorized drone, and it's not happening. So the FAA is looking at things differently and trying to create a pathway for people to do it. Now, there's a couple catches to this. Not all drones that are over 399 grams with the prop guard, not all of these drones are going to have a parachute available. The Air 3 comes to mind. The Mavic 3 actually comes to mind. Why? Because these drones require an SDK to plug in the parachute into in order for the parachute to talk to the drone to shut down the propellers when the parachute deploys. And that's typically limited to enterprise drones. So am I saying that we'll never see an ASTM approved drone for these drones that I just mentioned? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, but it's going to make it more difficult for sure. As far as anything in the mini category, all the DJI Mini will fall in there. And I say DJI, but everything that's comparable to a DJI Mini from Autel, from Autel is really the only other one that I can think of that's worth it. So in this case, you'll be able to not need a parachute, which would make it a lot easier. So I foresee that we'll see a lot more minis flying over people with the prop guards and the waiver, and should be perfectly safe. Okay. No flying over moving vehicles at the moment. There's still discussions going on as to how we're going to do this. I see a question in here asking about the Avata 1. The Avata 1 with prop guards is 420 grams, so that's over. The Avata 2 is under that weight, so that would actually work. So the Avata 2 and the Mini are more than likely going to be the drones that you want to be flying over people with a waiver. I'm going to keep saying with a waiver. This is not just a free-for-all. You can go and take off and do all this. There's still going to be limitations in your waiver, okay? I want to make that clear. The other problem is that the Avata 2, for example, and the DJI FPV are going to be over 399 grams, which means they're going to need to have a parachute, which is probably not a good idea to put a parachute on an FPV drone, because the way parachutes deploy typically is with unusual attitude, aka high pitch or high bank. So you would run a chance of the parachute deploying during normal flight. Vic says, I foresee an ASTM certified PRS for the Mavic 3 Pro coming. I hope so. I know what you're talking about, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. Whew. So that was a long answer to Glenn's question, but I wanted to bring that up because this is an important topic that's actually really cool, because the FAA is listening and they're making changes. I know slowly, and I agree with that, but they're making changes. They're listening to the community. I know Vic was involved with some of these things, so he did spend a lot of work helping the FAA understand all these things. Curtis Warren says, did the FAA change control airspace? They did not. That has not changed in years. Legendary Sean says, flying from Georgia to Georgia from LAX. LiPo safety tips. Get some LiPo bags. Make sure that none of the connectors are exposed so they can create a short. And then take everything with you in the cabin. Don't check any of these batteries. You're not supposed to do that. They won't let you do that. So that's really the extent of my safety brief for flying on commercial airplane with that. Do you have any Part 107 pilot in the chat with us tonight? I'm sure there's a ton of Part 107 pilots in the chat tonight. Yes, we always do. I've been in business for a few months and have a customer. This is from Chris. I have a customer who wants a 3D model of their backyard so they can plan for future renovation. 2 questions. Question number 1, do you have any advice for capturing good images for a relatively hilly yard so that I can capture the ground elevation? So there's software, Chris, that will do that. They'll follow the terrain so that you can get elevation profile. Maps Made Easy is the software that we use in that demo that's coming up next week in the video, and they have the ability to follow the contour. So make sure that you check your software and see if that's an option. Second question is, are there any tool my clients could use to play with the model himself, like measuring, creating annotation, and that won't break the bank? You'll have to I wish Jared was in the chat because that's more of his area of expertise. But yeah, there are plenty of tools that you can use for that. As far as the pricing, I'm not going to lie. I can't tell you which one is the cheapest that would provide this information. But if you shoot me an email, just send us an email at contact@pilotinstitute.com. I'll put you in touch with our mapping expert, and then he'll be able to help you with that. Northern Drone Guy says, can you charge a controller and use it while flying at the same time? Yes, you can. Most of the controllers out there, you can absolutely do that, especially the DJI ones. I have an upcoming trip in a few weeks, and there are several places I want to fly my drone. I'm having a hard time figuring out where to find charts for those locations to see if I can where. So here, I'm going to put a link for you in the description here. It's the UAS facility map, this thing right here. Just go ahead and use this NC Memory Makers. This will help you figure out exactly. You can plan ahead of time. Go take a look at what airspace looks like in those different areas. Also, I recommend that you download the Aloft Air Control app. That's going to help you basically figure out if you need to get approval and allow you to get approval as well. So that's my best tip right there. Jason Johnston, what am I doing here? Jason Johnston says, how hard is it? How hard is the Part 107 test? I'm going through Pilot Institute. I'm nervous that I'll be smart enough to comprehend everything to get licensed. You'll do great, Jason. If you study with the course, we've had, 20 failures so far in almost 100,000 people. We're at 98,000 people trained, and we had about 20 failures. So you're in good hands. If you follow everything I tell you in there, you'll do just fine. Tracy says, what's the best way to get in front of a realtors, I guess? I tend to go to networking events and meet there, but I'd like to do more. Go talk to them. Go to their office. If they have an office, most of them do. Go to the office, go talk to them. If there's an association of realtors near you, go and talk to them as well. And yeah, that's the best tip. If you see somebody listing a house, if there's an open house, go to the open house and go talk to the realtor. Usually they're going to be the ones listed over there. So John Jackson says, good afternoon. Where's a good place to get ASTM parachute for the Mavic 3 drone? So that's the issue that I mentioned recently. AVSS is a Canadian company that does parachutes. They have one for the enterprise version, but none for the regular Mavic 3 at the moment. And then also we have ParaZero is another company you want to look at. They do a lot of also parachutes for the enterprise world. Now keep in mind, we're going to need to give this a little bit of time because these parachute companies never had an incentive to really create a parachute for a consumer drone because it was never a requirement from the FAA, or in this case, it's still not a requirement per regulation, but it's a market for them. So we need to give them time to ramp up and decide if this is something they want to get into to get approval. Travis says, when you come up with a name for a drone business, should you keep it appropriate? And should I make it an LLC? You should definitely keep it appropriate. I don't think people will want to do business with someone who doesn't have an appropriate name. Should you make it an LLC? Yes, I would definitely recommend making it an LLC because for liability purposes. Sorry, I was reading another question at the same time. Jason says, I have a question. Can recreational drone pilots post videos on YouTube? Yes, you can. Remember, the rule is what is the intent, the intent of the flight at the time of the flight. But if your channel is monetized, typically you don't want to be posting videos there unless you have a Part 107. Eagle View Drone Services are telling roofers that they don't need anything to use their drone and software. Could you please look into this? Yeah, if that's what they're saying, they're wrong. Any flight done for non-recreational purposes, they absolutely need to have a Part 107. Eagle View. I thought Eagle View was part of Zeitgeist. Maybe that's changed. Ralph, if you have more info on that, please email it to me. Again, go through a contact@pilotinstitute.com and then they'll get it to me. That sounds like a nightmare waiting for them to happen. Okay. Tracy says, I've got 360 rover for real estate. Any idea for drone using Metaport? The drone Metaport on a drone, I don't think is going to work. I don't think I've ever seen anybody doing that. I think to do the 360, I don't know how the Metaport works 100%, but if it needs to be on a tripod to not move, the drone is going to move too much for that. At least it's my take. Maybe somebody that has experience with that can explain, but yeah, I don't know. Engineer Drone Services, that's a question for Jillian. What is the life expectancy of a lava lamp? And if we use the same judging metric as the photo contest, which lamp would win? Well, that's a good question. Jillian has some cool lights. So if you come in on Fridays at 4 p.m. our time, which is 7 p.m. Eastern, then you will see Jillian's light. She is in the community. We do the happy hour every Friday. So, and I don't know the answer to life expectancy, but I'm sure Jillian answered that in the comments somewhere. We still need to get one. So when we move, we're gonna up our game and get like ones that's like 10 times the size of Jillian. Jillian's lamp, not Jillian herself. That would be cool, wouldn't it? I don't know if they make them that big, but it probably will take all day to warm up because she said they take time to warm up. So it would be cool to have one in the background, a pink and blue one with pink and blue bubbles. I think that would be pretty cool. If not DJI, what American drone manufacturer do we go to? Shall we just 3D print and make our own drone? You can make your own drone. It doesn't have to be 3D printed. It can just be, I mean, there's a lot of people that make their own drone. As far as other drone manufacturers, it depends. It depends on what you want to do. So for consumer drones, there is not a whole lot of drone manufacturers out there that compete with DJI. For good reason, because DJI has a lot of offerings. As far as commercial or enterprise or public safety or military, then there are more options, but it really depends on what you want to do. If you want to look at a non-DJI brand, look at Parrot. Parrot has the Anafi AI, which is probably, in my eyes, the most robust, how can I say that? The most robust consumer plus drone. It's on the higher end, especially of pricing. It's a bit more expensive, but it flies well. It has a great camera. It's not American. It's a French drone, but it's not a Chinese drone if that's what you're after. With the Chinese drone ban, if it happens, be retroactive, not from the bills that I have seen. So it would be for future drones. Teabag, what's the best place to affix a strobe on the Air 2S without interfering with the GPS signal? I would say right over the battery, quite frankly. That's your best bet on the smaller drones. Put Velcro on top of each of your batteries and then just put the light on top of the battery. Remember, the strobe light is designed for other people, for other aircraft in the airspace to see you. It's not designed for you to see the drone. So top of the drone is the best part. How can event organizer handle more than one drone flying at the same time? That's a good question. Communication, quite frankly. If event organizers especially with a lot of people, if they have more than one person flying there on their behalf, then there needs to be communication with everyone involved. That's really the best way to do it. Is there a way to have an FAA and DJI geofence in one map? Ooh, I went onto a job site, submitted my lens and all, but was dumbfounded that I couldn't launch. Yep, disappointed client. Tracy, that's all about your pre-flight research. When you do your pre-flight the day before, or 2 or 3 hours before you go on site, you need to search both of them. If you have a DJI drone, you need to do the search, and then you need to search for the FAA approval as well. They could be different. They may not be, but they could be different if you're closer to an airport. Remember, the FAA uses a grid system that's a 1/4 mile by a 1/4 mile. The DJI uses something that's called Part 77 surfaces, which personally I prefer because they make a lot more sense to me, because they're based on the design of the airport in itself. The problem is that the FAA and DJI are actually using 2 different systems, so you could be in a safe area as per the FAA, but not as per DJI system, and vice versa. So you have to do the research for both of them. Next, we have many YouTube channels show flight BVLOS. Are they getting blanket waivers for this, or am I missing something? I thought waivers could be issued only for a specific window and time. More than likely, 99% of the BVLOS flights that you see on YouTube are not through a waiver. And the reason I say this is because we have a BVLOS waiver. And ours is for an 11-mile corridor that is in the middle of nowhere, Arizona. And that's the place where we could get the approval. And we use that to do testing beyond visual line of sight. And so yeah, getting it for anywhere and everywhere to fly beyond visual line of sight as a YouTube channel, very, very unlikely. So. Is the EXO X Ranger 7 drone over 250 grams? I'm pretty 99% sure. How hard is it? How hard will it be for me to get the qualifications I need for my aerial photo business that I'm starting? You need to get the Part 107, Jason, in this case. So Part 107, which we can help you with through our course. And then after that, you're good to go. Vic says my BVLOS waiver is 2 miles and all in Class G. Yeah, and I think yours is different than ours. Ours, we still have to have a visual observer that follows. That's why we could get 11 miles distance. So I have a chance to fly in Indianapolis. It doesn't require lands where I want to fly. I have contacted the city, but haven't heard back yet. Is flying in the city allowed? Yep. The city can only limit you through to take off and land from the land that they control themselves. So if it's not prohibited, then it's allowed. Let's put it this way. So I would not even worry about contacting the city. You're going to end up talking to someone who doesn't know what they're saying, and because they don't know what they're saying, they might say no. So just go fly. Take a look at the link that I shared. I'm going to share it again right here. US facility map. This will help you basically find if there is airspace restriction in that area. Can you, Morningwood says, can you give a quick overview of the steps to get an OOP waiver? You'd have to go, the quickest way that I can tell you is you have to go to the FAA website, the FAA Drone Zone. You have to go to the waiver section, submit a new waiver, and then fill out the questions that they're asking you to fill out. And that's really the quickest way that I can tell you to do this, because it's going to depend on the type of waiver that you want to get. Now, OOP, I know you said OOP. So you'll have to download the document on the FAA website, and it's going to give you the questions that you need to answer. And I think they get it down, Vic, correct me if I'm wrong, but they get it down, I think, to 9 questions. I think it's 9 questions now instead of 17. I think I remember those numbers from our meetings. Rat Motors say Avata 1 can be operated OOP. I'm going to say what I said again. Avata 1 is over 400 grams, so you would need to have a parachute on the Avata 1 that is ASTM compliant, and I don't know that any of those exist at the time. When is the next photo contest? It's going to start next month on early June. I don't think we have decided on a date yet, but if you're in the community, you will be able to see the information there. Is it legal to fly at 10 p.m.? I see a drone flying over my property at night. It is legal to fly at night for pretty much recreational or for Part 107 pilots, and you can do that using a strobe light, and it needs to have a light visible from 3 statute miles on top of the drone and follow all the other rules that you would follow during the day. HK Stream says, what are good places to purchase legit used drone and equipment? I mean, I don't know as far as legit. The best thing is to find someone local that you can go look at the drone and then just buy it. I don't know that there are specifically places that sell used drones.
We have some listings on the community site.
Yeah, on the community, actually. If you're a member of our community, you have to be a student that has a paid course to access that. That's how we limit the number of people that go in there and make it a bit more secure. It's going to be people that have purchased a course from us, and then we have a selling page there. Super 8 millimeter says, are the waiver only good for a one-time use? No, they're good for a specific amount of time. I don't remember. It's years. It's a few years. I don't remember the exact number, but yes. Skypod Images says, when requesting an OOP waiver, can you list multiple drones? Yes, you'll be able to list multiple drones. They're going to ask you. What we did for ours, we were pretty creative about getting the approval for ours because we wanted to be able to fly drones that were just released or about to be released. So we didn't want to be limited to something. So we gave them a category of drone, a type of drone that we wanted approved. And as long as they were registered with the FAA, then we were able to do this. But yes, you'll be able to get several approval. Now, if you fly a drone over 399 grams and then under, you might get 2 different approval. I don't know how the FAA is going to handle that. We haven't talked about that in the meetings. The next FAA change should be VLOS registration like overseas. What do you think? Yes, there is in the FAA Reauthorization Act, which has passed the House and is going to the President's desk for signature. In there is language that within the next 4 months, I think, they need to come up with a NPRM, Notice of Proposed Rulemaking, for BVLOS, Beyond Visual Line of Sight. So who knows what that's going to look like? We'll see. But yeah, that's definitely coming up. And don't get too excited. I'm going to say this. I don't have any insights, by the way, but don't get too excited. I think people expect that this is going to be, okay, if I get this training done, then I'm going to be able to fly beyond visual line of sight. It's not. It's going to require special equipment, more than likely going to require a parachute or something that's related to the operation over people. Remember, beyond visual line of sight, you're going to need to be able to detect and avoid. That's an official term from the FAA. You're going to need to have equipment that allows you to detect and avoid and see what's going on in the airspace. So it's not going to be accessible to the average person. I'm going to say it now. Again, I don't have any details, but I can almost guarantee you, I'll put money on it that it's not going to be accessible to the average person. It's going to require special equipment, and it's not going to be cheap. And we'll see. Vic says, cautiously optimistic about the BVLOS and PRM. So am I. I'm hoping that it's going to be easier, but yeah, we'll see. I'm based in Texas, but looking to go to Germany this summer for fun and business. Do you have any advice about making money in Europe as an American? Be careful. Working in a foreign country always requires special visa and special approval. That is true of people coming to the United States to work. You don't want to get in trouble by going somewhere to visit and then trying to make money. So look up, I don't know the rules for Germany, but look up the rules for Germany and what you can and cannot do as a foreign citizen going to work over there. Now, if you're a European citizen going to any country in Europe, it's going to be different. But as a non-European citizen going to Europe in general, it's going to be, you have to look at the rules. What if you just took cash? Well, there's always, you can do anything illegal that you want. You just don't want to get caught, right? But if people come to this channel, I'm expecting they're looking for regulatory answer, semi-correct answer. Can I fly my Avata 2 as a non-FPV drone, not using the goggles? Yes, you can. You can plug in your phone to the goggles and you'll be able to get the feed and then be able to fly it that way. The cold place is very far. Wait. Well, I'm going to read this comment, but I don't know what it means. The cold place is very far from where I live. Can fly my drone in the yard of my house as long as I don't bother my neighbor in any way. Yeah, you can fly anywhere you want as long as there's no airspace restriction. So it goes back to the link. I'm going to put it in here again. That's the US facility map. Make sure that you go and check for airspace by going to that link. Enter the address. You can also use a map like Aloft Air Control, for example, and then that's going to tell you what kind of airspace approval you need. Sergio says, how do I go about requesting permission to fly in an area around military base, especially Air Force Base, when active training flights? So, again, go back to that link I just mentioned. Go in there and see what kind of airspace is around it. There's going to be a green airspace or red airspace. Green means that it's LANS approved, which means that you can use an app such as Aloft Air Control to get approval almost immediately to fly there. If it's red, then you're going to have to go through additional steps. You can do that through the app, through Aloft Air Control, for example, or you can also do it on the FAA drone zone, where you'll be able to submit an airspace authorization request. Don't do an airspace waiver, an airspace authorization request, and it's going to help you to do that. Any updates on what's in the FAA Reauthorization Act for drone operators? I'm still reading it. So I made the mistake last week of downloading the file, which is 1,000 and maybe 1,200 pages. It's a PDF. It's pretty big letters, but still, it's still 1,200 pages. And I went through the entire summary list at the beginning, and I highlighted every single one that I wanted to read. And as it turns out, it's like 100 and some of them because I'm also reading it for the airplane side of things. So I decided to prioritize the drone side because it's a bit shorter. I'm still reading through them. I want to do a video that explains it. It's going to take me a little while to digest everything. But there are some cool things that I saw in there. And now from the top of my head, I can't remember. But I'm taking a lot of notes, and I'll do a video that shortens it to maybe 15 or 20 minutes and then try to give you an idea. So if you're not familiar, the FAA Reauthorization Act is what gives the FAA their authority every 5 years or so. And the last one was in 2023, 2016. We're supposed to have one in 2023 and ends up being in 2024. And then this allows the FAA to operate as a governmental agency. But what Congress does is they tell the FAA, in the next 5 years, here are the things that you need to do. It's a honey-do list. And there are some cool things in there. So we'll talk about it in more detail. I can't remember one from the top of my head that's cool, except for the beyond visual line of sight thing. I mentioned that already. How far laterally does my drone need to be from a person below and not be considered flying over a person? Well, the definition for flying over is very simple. Anything over means that the drone is over any part of the body of anybody. So if the drone is right here and it's flying over my hand, you're flying over people. If it's right here, 2 inches away from my hand, technically it's not over people. I'm going to add something to this because I think it's common sense, but the drone, if the drone is moving and you lose a motor or you lose a battery, then the drone is going to fall on someone, even though they weren't over the person at the time when the battery failed. So keep that in mind as well, okay? And Vic's corrected. He said 2018 reauthorization. You're right, 2018. I think 2006 was when we had another one. Next. Drone Leg Guy says, do you have a course on how to get an approved waiver? Yes, we do. We have a Waiver Made Easy course that will show you how to get waivers. Absolutely. Anyone have good advice for 3D printed drone parts and accessories? What's also a good need facing you? Just about to start making my own and starting with my own. So making a drone with only 3D printed parts is going to be difficult. At least you want to have a frame that's going to be a bit more rigid than 3D printed plastic. Typically, people use a carbon frame to get started as a base. So I would recommend for that to use just a base. We have a video online that shows you how to build a decently affordable drone that flies really well. It's on our YouTube channel. I don't have a link to it, but you can probably find it. And then we have a course that shows you step by step on how to do that as well. So yeah. Moab says, can an Air 3 be used for roof surveys? Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any limitations for that. I still see a lot of questions. Sorry if I'm going fast, but I'm trying to go through all the questions here. A little over halfway through the course, I'm on Airspace and Chart. You mentioned going through the Airspace and Chart twice. Should I follow the advice? Yes, absolutely. So what I recommend you do is you go through all of Airspace, all of Charts, and then you come back and you watch it again. And it's going to make a lot more sense once you've seen it at least once. What's the origin of 249 grams? Was there math or engineering or more like a semi-round number? No, it has a reason, and it's got to do with NASA, if I remember correctly. So we did an interview one time with Brendan Schulman from formerly DJI, and he talked about the 250 gram. It's not a random number. It has to do with the weight of an object falling from a certain distance. And if I remember correctly, it was part of the space program. And if it fell, then it wouldn't hurt to a certain amount. It's something trivial, but also somewhat based on reality in a way. But that's where the 250 gram came from. Also, another question. I have a Phantom 4, but I'm trying to get into FLIR. Are there any attachment that don't bring the bank? The Phantom 4 does not have interchangeable payloads, so you will not be able to change that, unfortunately. What's the best company that offers drone training live flying in person? None that I can recommend, quite frankly. It depends on what you want to do as far as live training. We do have a partnership with Brendan, with his company in Texas that does training for public safety. But as far as people wanting to learn to fly their drone, go out and practice. That's really going to be the best. We have a ton of videos. If you're in our Part 107 course, we have a maneuvers video that's going to show you how to start from nothing, climb, go forward and back and to the side, all the way to very complicated missions and maneuvers. But just go out and do this. Sprint gaming edits. You don't have to copy paste your question 25 times in the chat. We'll get to it. There's a backlog, so you don't need to do that. Do your online courses and classes have up-to-date information from becoming a new recreational drone pilot? Yes, Mark. Head over to our website and look for a course called Recreational Flying Made Easy. It's a free course, and it's basically going to help you get started and do your first flights, learn about the airspace and all that. And again, it's free. Sky Curtain says, just to clarify, under 44809, the same registration number is valid for all the aircraft. That is correct. And then you would use, if you use a module for remote ID, you would just put that in your inventory, and then you can use it on any of those drones because they all have the same registration number. Any update on what is the current best remote ID app to see where drones in the RPIC are located? This is for public safety. We're on a budget and cannot afford the high-end stuff. What's the name of the app? Stand by. I'm going to load it up here real quick. I always forget because I never use it. Drone Scanner is definitely a good app. And then, Drone Scanner is the app. What's the other one? There's another one. I'm sorry. Stand by. No, because they don't have an iOS app yet, I think. Yeah, Drone Scanner is going to be the one that you want to use at the moment. Fairly easy to use. Kavi says, if you want to use your drone to record video for YouTube, then what do you have to do? If your YouTube channel is non-monetized, just go out and take videos and put them on YouTube. That's really that simple. Is there a flyer template for us to show Karens what the regulations are rather than giving verbal or pages or documents that they don't care to read? If they don't care to read pages of documents, you're probably not going to change their mind. Talking to people that hate drones is very difficult. Changing their mind is very difficult. It's almost like trying to convince someone to change their political leaning. That's pointless. Dealing with folks that don't like drones, if they have really that big of an issue, contact the police and just say, hey, you know what? Let them figure it out. Now, this might be a double-edged sword. Not every police officer out there knows the drone rules, but I would say do your job, pack up, and then go and try to avoid these people. But if they're not willing to read, some stuff, you can send them to the FAA website. I've done that with people that email me and have questions. I give them the information. They argue with me. I send them to either the regulation or I send them to the FAA webpage. And then I tell them to contact the FAA at the help desk, uashelp@faa.gov. These guys are amazing, and girls, and they answer all the questions. So that's what I would recommend. Will recreational pilots ever be able to fly BVLOS and OOP? Unlikely. Unlikely. Everything that we talked about so far, flying over people, flying beyond visual line of sight, all of those are designed for Part 107 operation. Why not for recreational pilots? Because recreational flying is a carve out of Part 107. It was designed 100% for recreational use, and I doubt the FAA is going to go out of their way to change any of that. Plus, it would have to come from Congress anyway. Cascade Drone Services says, love the idea of the photo contest. What about a video contest? We've talked about that, so we're going to be testing with photos for right now. Videos are much harder because they take a lot longer to review. So if we did that, maybe we would do like a film festival where people would submit their application and then we would review all of them and do a pre-screening and then do a final view of the best one, maybe top 10, top 15 or whatever it is. But it's a bit more complicated to do videos. So, yep. Do we need to ban this dum-dum over there? Okay. Those are always funny. Every once in a while. Oh, you're not a moderator. We need to make Jillian moderator. She'll like, bam, out. Wait, is Tom even a moderator?
I don't think so.
Okay. Is anybody a moderator? Are we working on it? Okay, sorry. Good job, Psyche Monkey. You're an idiot. Oh, Egon. Bye-bye. Okay. Bam hammer. That's right. Ban hammer. Jillian, we'll give you the ban hammer. And Tom has the wrench. And Tom also has the hammer. Okay. Next, always makes it fun. As a Part 107 holder, and I'm supervising someone can I fly a drone too? No, you cannot. So if you are the person supervising somebody else who's the remote pilot in command, then you're going to need to, the operator, I'm sorry, then you need to only be supervising one person. You cannot also fly. USA Drone Flyers says, where do we see our entry in the month photo contest and where to vote? You can vote using the link that Jillian left in the community. So if you go to community announcement in the community, you'll see a link. You will not be able to see your entry necessarily. It's going to give you 2 photos that you're going to choose from, and it's going to do that multiple times. I did it this afternoon. I think it gave me like 20 different photos that I had to basically say, which one do you prefer? Sometimes it's difficult because both of them are really good and you have to pick which one you prefer. But because so many people do it, then it's going to help with breaking out a tie. But you will not be able to go to your own photo and vote for that. We wanted to not do that specifically because I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be that. I don't want you to vote for your own photo. I want you to vote for the best photo that's out there. I'm signed up for your Part 107 course. Just wanted to say you guys are doing a fantastic job. Thank you. We appreciate that. How likely is it for the FAA to have BVLOS for drones under 250 grams similar to our friends in Canada? I don't know. I'm not going to make a bet on that. We'll see. Is there a module or something that can be attached to a drone to go live drone? Oh, to give live drone AGL information? That's difficult, because what it would need is it would need your position at all time in space, and it would need to know exactly how high you are in MSL and compare that data to pre-recorded altitude elevation information from the ground. So you would need to have a database of information that it can compare it to in order to tell you. So yeah, that's M300
and the Wingtra do terrain follows.
terrain follow.
The stuff is there to do it.
Well, it's using pre-recorded data. It's using terrain data, so you need to have terrain data. But it's in the module in itself. I think that would be pretty difficult. Next, can you go over registration requirement for a drone that is registered as a hobbyist, but the owner is now Part 107? Does that number now have to change, and what should be done with the old number? So I'm going to say two things. If you only have one drone and you're changing it from recreational to Part 107, you don't have to do anything, because you already have a drone registered, and then now it's also valid as Part 107. Once you add more drones to the mix, every drone is going to have its own registration number. So then you're going to have to go to the FAA drone zone, add a new registration for each of the drone in there. That's really that simple. Next, if you have a spot that you fly a lot that is in controlled airspace, E2, can you get LANS approval for an extended period of time? Nah, the FAA doesn't do that anymore. So there used to be a wide area authorization. They're much harder to get now. They're going to tell you, hey, you can get LANS, just get LANS, basically. So if you're requesting to fly above the grid number in that area, you could get a long-term extension for that, but not for regular LANS. Is a under 250 gram license from the UK recognized in continental Europe? I do not know the answer to that. I'm sorry. Not an expert in European rules. My guess is because the UK is...
Is it EASA?
Well, I don't know if the UK is still part of EASA now because of Brexit. Actually, I'm clueless on that. It's been a long time since I've worked with the UK. When I was at FIT in Florida, we did, but that was a different time. So I don't know. Good question. How accurate is the IMU on a DJI drone? If I'm flying in controlled airspace with LANS, how am I supposed to ensure that I'm flying under the limits? I don't think the IMU does that. The barometer is going to tell you the altitude. The barometer is fairly precise, so I would 100% trust that. Now, it also depends on terrain. Like here in Prescott, we have nothing is flat. Everything is a hill. So in order to get 400 feet AGL, we have to guess all the time. So we just guess, and that's good enough, quite frankly. Why are so many FRIAs located on public school field? Airloft says yes, but it's a school property. I don't think FRIAs were necessarily designed to be public. They were just a place for a drone to be flown without remote ID. So they could be on private property, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I would venture to say that the vast majority of the FRIAs out there are owned by the AMA, which owns private fields, which you can't get into. It cannot fly there unless you're a member. So I would say the majority of FRIAs are probably not accessible to the general public. I don't have a Part 107 cert. I don't have a Part 107 cert. I fly in my neighborhood park for fun. Short flight, 20 to 25 minutes at a time. Do I need to register that flight with an app, LANS, or Loft? So it's not about the length of the time. It's about whether or not you're in controlled airspace or in airspace that needs authorization. So if you're in airspace that needs authorization, then you need to have LANS. If you're not, then no, you don't need to tell anyone. Do I need remote ID for the Mini 4 Pro? If you fly it for recreational purposes and don't have anything added to it, then it's sub 250 grams, then you don't need remote ID. If you fly it for Part 107 purposes, then you need to have remote ID. Sky Curtain says, is the digital zoom on the Mini 4 Pro usable? That's up to you to decide. I would say do testing. It's not horrific, but it's still a digital zoom. So if you're having paid customer pay, if you have people pay for your footage, probably not acceptable. If you're doing this for yourself, then you should be good. Do I need remote ID for the Mini 4 Pro? I think I just answered that question. Let me see. 5 minutes. We're going to keep going a little bit. In the flashcard, question 28, it says, at what angle of bank does the load on the drone start to dramatically increase? It says 60 degrees, but on the cheat sheet it says 45 to 50. Which one is the good answer? The good answer is 45 to 50. The FAA has changed that question over time, and we can't get the flashcard corrected. So whatever's in the course is going to be the best information. I live in a clear to fly zone. However, my city website states that I have to join the local model aircraft club in order to fly my drone. That's BS. Can I fly my backyard with visual line of sight legally? I would say yes, absolutely. I would take them to court if they try to give you crap for that. That's they cannot force you to join a local club in order to fly your drone. That's BS. Now, if they wanted to do that from the land that they control, then maybe, but otherwise, no, I would give them politely the middle finger. What are the odds the FAA will enforce the rules on needing a Part 107 license for commercial work? I haven't seen or heard of. Well, don't test. Don't test the FAA. There's a court case going on right now with Philly Drone Life, the guy from Philadelphia. And you don't want to be the one testing if the FAA is going to go after people for that. And remember, at the end of the day, it's all about liability, right? You could fly for the next 5 years without a Part 107 certificate, probably without insurance, because nobody's going to insure you if you don't have your Part 107 certificate, up until stuff hits the fan. And when stuff hits the fan, then you're going to be held accountable for what you did, which means that if you hurt someone, if you break someone's property because you're doing a job for making money, then they're going to go after everything you own. And if you're not an LLC, then they'll go after everything that you own personally, your car, your house, your everything, because that's just the way the world works. So the Part 107 exam is $175. If you decide to use a course like ours, or anybody else, I don't care, it's $150 for the course. You're in for $325. Is that $325 a wise investment in order to not lose everything that you've owned? My answer is probably yes. Okay. So can you fly without Part 107? Can you get away with it and have the FAA never come after you? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Should you? I'm going to let you decide on that. That's a risk reward calculation that you have to make on your own. But personally, not worth $325 or $175 if you want to do this on your own. My 2 cents. Are Freya supposed to be free? Free, yes. Sorry, Vic. Free, yes. We should have a Freya button. I like Freya because it sounds like it's better. Because if you don't fly there, we're going to fry you. They're not supposed to be free. There's no language in the FAA that says they're supposed to be free. So that's why I don't say Freya, because they're not free. Ha. Michael Wang says, how many instances that you are aware of that someone actually got caught on site flying in the national park? I can tell you firsthand. You know why? Because I got caught flying in a national park. Now, I have to preface this. This was in 2014, way before Part 107, and way before there was any kind of good information about drones. And I live close to the Grand Canyon, and I went and I flew in the Grand Canyon on the North Rim, and I got caught, and I got a $60 ticket. I sold my drone, and almost never flew again. And then it took me a while to get back to flying. That was a DJI Phantom 1. And but yeah, they'll find you. The national park you don't want to mess with, because they can seize your assets. They can actually take the drone and give you a ticket. Back then, it was really lack of information. I looked on the website for the park, and there was no mention of not being able to fly there because they didn't have to deal with a lot of this. So I got the most shaky footage of the national park on the North Rim, which is beautiful, from a GoPro that was attached to the Phantom 1 that was not stabilized, and it was totally not worth the $60. Not only that, but the risk of me losing my pilot license over all of this, because I actually flew in controlled airspace. I was, quite frankly, pretty clueless back then. So yeah, don't do it. Okay, one more question and we'll stop. It's 5 o'clock. Out of all the drone pilots in the US, what percentage actually follow the rules? That's impossible to tell, but there's following the rules, and then there is blatantly not following all the rules, if that makes any sense. You'll cut corners left and right. I think that's a given. I think if anybody comes in and says, I've always followed the rules, I think they would be lying. I'd be lying if I said I've always followed the rules, whether intentionally or not intentionally. So I try. I do my absolute best to follow the rules at all time when I fly my drone, because I understand the consequences. But I would say probably 99.9% of drone pilots have not followed the rules at one point. I don't think I would be very far. Okay. Whew. I think that's it. So if you haven't voted yet, go vote for this thing here. This is going to be not this trophy. We're going to keep this one here because it says your name here. But you will get your trophy with your name here, and the May of 2024 winner of the contest, and a $250 gift card at the same time, which is not bad. Better than a hot stick in the eye, as my friend would say. And yeah, this is cool. Cool trophy. You'll have bragging rights for being the first ever Pilot Institute contest winner. So that's pretty cool. And that's it. I think we're going to end it. We have news update coming on Friday. We have Friday night, one more happy hour. We're going to bring Jason this time. And then what else do we have? We have a couple courses that are coming up. No live next Monday. It's a holiday. I would do one from my house, but you know what? I always end up at like 4:45 being like, crap, I forgot about this, and I have to scramble and get it set up. So we're just gonna skip next week. We'll announce the winner on Monday of the contest in the community, and then we'll mention it again on the Friday event. So no live next Monday. We'll see you the following Monday, but we'll see you on Friday for sure. And you have a great week. Look for the Pixel Drone Show. I think a lot of you are gonna enjoy the conversation. You may not agree with it, but you'll enjoy the conversation. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time.